All right, we are back to talk about more geek otaku television. We are the Otaku Informers. I am Aegon the Informer, aka Rashid. I'm here with Felipe, aka Lupin the Fourth, and I am here with Matt, aka Matt Kakashi. And
Hello.
we're here today to talk about Andor. If I can get the picture up. Yes. So, Felipe has not watched Andor, so we will not spoil it for him. We'll do a non-spoiler review of what we think about it so far. And
Yeah.
I actually do want to start off by saying, it would be hard to spoil this show because one of the reasons that I really like this show is because everything is about it's not about fan service, it's not about big like oh my god this Jedi shows up, it's not about like big like macro universe things that are happening. It's a very small micro story, and it's honestly my second favorite Star Wars show after Mandalorian for sure. Yeah,
Oh.
it's I okay, I have to start by saying I only watched Rogue One once, and I did not care for it because before watching it, I was like, I don't care about this story. I already know they get the plans for the Death Star. I do not want to watch a movie about that. So I watched the movie. I was like already like ready not to like it. So maybe that's why I didn't like it. But Andor, I was like, I do not want to watch the show. It's based on a movie I don't care about, and I already know what happens to the characters. But I kept hearing how good the show was, and I gave it a shot. And I after the first episode, I fell in love with it. So what
Yeah.
do you think, Matt?
Okay. So at first I thought Disney wasn't feeling too confident about it when they released 3 episodes at once. I was like, oh, okay, they haven't done that before. Why maybe they're like, we kind of know this series isn't gonna be good, so let's just like push it out faster. But then, like you, I watched the first episode and I went, "Hey, I was wrong. Okay, this show is really good." And then I watched all 3 episodes, and then I realized, okay, I understand why they released 3 at once because the way the show's set up, at least so far, is that like each 3 episode chunks is like a little story in of itself, right? Like the first 3 episodes is one main storyline and what happens there, and that leads into the next 3 episodes. But the next 3 episodes kind of restarts that process where the first 2 episodes just like big build up to a big event. Then the third episode, the big event happens, and then like the episodes after that are dealing with what happened, the after effects of what happened in that big event. So I get why they released the first 3 episodes all at once. Because I think if they had done it normally, where it was just 1 episode per week, I don't think it would have worked as well, or at least got people attached as quickly. Because whenever I check online, it's like universal praise for this show. Everyone's like, Andor is so good.
Yeah.
Andor is so good. I don't think I've seen anything really in terms of negative feedback.
Hmm.
The only negative feedbacks that I've heard are that it's boring. And I truly think that those people, it's okay, not everything is made for everyone. Like, for example, these people probably couldn't sit through, like, The Godfather. You know, these people would probably tell you that The Godfather is a boring movie, even though it's a masterpiece, right? So,
Yeah.
some people just cannot, like, they just want, they only like action movies, or everybody has different tastes. But some people like well written, well directed, with amazing cinematography story.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something, Felipe?
Well, yes, those people, they're a bunch of negative Nancy's. Like, forget them. But like, thanks for being for informing me. I guess it's like ours. But like, I have one question. Did the show just took a break? Like from a certain after the 3 episodes, did it take like a weekly break and then come back? Which
After
is
that,
usually three and then three.
no, no, no. It took it. Then it became weekly. Yeah, the first
Oh,
three,
okay.
and then weekly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So,
just, yeah, yeah, no, no, go ahead, Felipe.
sorry, I think I'll have like questions at the end.
Please. No, no, no. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I just want because you mentioned earlier that this show didn't really feel like fan servicey, but at the same time, what makes a fan service like and milking a franchise has already been milked to death. So we know about like this episode like the Rogue One, and then this is there for a background of one random character. So there's an infinite amount of characters they can just give backstories to. Like I can almost guarantee that we're gonna see a series for Mace Windu and why he has a purple lightsaber. So how is that
I
not
would
fan
totally
service
watch. I
and
would
this is
totally
a
watch that.
show?
Sorry.
I would totally watch that. I would totally watch that.
At the same time, I can almost also
Yeah.
guarantee that they might give us a Jabba the Hutt backstory and see why he's so fat, why he's despicable, why this, why that. I'm like, this any character that has like any name, I would love to see a Jar Jar Binks origin story.
I would not want to watch that.
No, I want to watch that. No.
But like again, so there's a point like what's about fan service and what is to develop something that's unneeded. They're technically all unneeded. If you already know
Yeah.
where the story is going, what's the point? This is you know.
Yeah. I have a perfect answer to what you just said, Felipe. We just got two shows of Star Wars back to back that for me are exactly answer what you just said. Obi-Wan was fan service. Obi-Wan was pure fan service, okay? So my problems with Obi-Wan was the writing, the dialogues, some of the characters. There were so many things that didn't make sense, and there are some things that I loved, of course. Like I'll never forget when they do the flashback of Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, and it happens in the past. That's by far my favorite scene of the show. But when you get Princess Leia and Luke when they should not be there based on what happens in A New Hope, adding them is pure fan service. Whereas in Andor, there's no like, oh, remember this? Oh, remember that? No, it's pure. We're giving you a story, and it's gonna be extremely well written, and it's gonna be a very good story, very interesting, and very like it makes sense. And I will just close on this just because like I actually haven't
Yeah.
spoken about Star Wars in a while. Like another perfect example is Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. That was not fan service. That made sense to the story. Uh, Grogu made a call to any Jedi to come help, and this happens right after Return of the Jedi. The most powerful Jedi at that moment was Luke. It was either Luke or Ezra that could have shown up, and it made sense that Luke would show up because he has an X-wing and he's the most powerful and he just beat Darth Vader. So like, why wouldn't he go to Grogu's call? It wouldn't have made sense if Luke wouldn't have shown up. So this is my what for me like is the difference between fan service and when it makes sense to the story. That's it.
All right, I'll take that.
Matt, I'm sure you have
Yeah.
things to say.
Well, just a little bit on the fan service thing. I think I think Rashid said it perfectly, but it's like Andor is just a really good story in the Star Wars universe. They don't try to like shoehorn any references into the story that don't make sense. It's just like, okay, there's this guy, he was from this movie before, but it's the story of this guy who and how he becomes that character, right? And like his background. Nothing else. It's not like Emperor Palpatine is popping up in the background going, oh, he's actually my son, and he actually has force powers, but no one knows, right? It's just like, okay, it's this guy trying to live his life in the Star Wars universe and what he goes through. It's just a well-written, mature storyline. Like, Star Wars has never been this mature.
Never.
Super small spoiler. Like, it's like the first 2 minutes, but like the show starts and the main character goes into a sex house, right? Like it's a brothel. And it's like, okay, Star Wars has never explicitly done that before.
I swear to God, Matt, you just read my mind because that's the scene I was going to bring up. As soon as I saw that brothel, I think you can say brothel in English, right? It's an English word, right? It's not in French. Like sometimes my brain.
Yeah, we use it in English.
Okay. it reminded me of Mass Effect first. How it's like you go in and there's like alien hookers and stuff, and but it was a very high class brothel, and
Mhm.
right away, even the way that scene was shot, I instantly started liking the show. Like instantly, I was like, okay, wow, I've never seen this in Star Wars, and yeah, and then what happens right after? But yeah,
Yeah. Right after, and then like episode 2 or 3, a guy says shit instead of poodoo or like whatever Star Wars equivalent of the swear words. They're just like, no, 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 we're not trying to cover it up. They swear in the Star Wars universe. There you
hmm
go. It's just like, okay, cool. They're taking this more seriously. They're take like it's actually a different take on the universe compared to just what Disney has been doing, where it's just like, okay, the same flavor of Star Wars everywhere, right? Like,
yeah,
so a nice change for sure.
yeah,
Good point.
and in episode two, there's a sex scene too. Isn't it like the first sex scene maybe that we see? Maybe do we see in the prequel Anakin and Padme? I mean,
No.
No, like we don't actually see anything.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas in the episode 2 of Andor, you actually see a little bit, right?
yeah.
Like,
It's a lot more than we've ever seen in Star Wars. So like,
yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, wow.
I looked up who wrote and directed this show, and obviously it's one of the co-writers of Rogue One. The second
Yeah.
co-writer is Gary Whitta, which he's like big in the video game like news circle. I was
Mhm.
very I was like, well, I feel bad for him that they didn't apparently they didn't even call him or anything. So they only took like the his co-writer of Rogue One. But his co-writer, which blew my mind, wrote The Devil's Advocate in 1997 with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves, which The Devil's Advocate is a classic movie from the 90s. Like Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino, that movie, like I'll never forget. He adapted Armageddon. He did the whole Bourne trilogy, and
Wow.
the only movie he directed was Michael Clayton with George Clooney, and I was nominated for Oscars. So like this guy, Tony Gilroy, after Andor, I will remember his name. So yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, and
I could say a lot more, but this is a non-spoiler thing, so I'll just leave it at you need to watch Andor. It's really good.
the last episode, episode 6, it's like the first. There's gonna be 8 episodes. The first 5 episodes all lead up to the events of episode 6, and it just blew
Mhm.
my mind. That episode was better than a lot of Mandalorian episodes.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love Mandalorian.
Are you
Yeah, I
including
love Andor.
1 and 2, or just one, or just two? Because I'm catching up. I just finished season 1 a few days ago.
Oh, of Mando? Oh, I thought you had watched Mando, right? Okay. Oh, wow. Um,
Like
Oh,
I'm
did
busy
I
with
did
life and a bunch of other shows, so I'm catching up slowly.
did I
And
accidentally spoil you a big event?
oh no, don't worry about it. Even if you did, I don't mind.
did, right?
This
You
stage, I
are
don't mind doing.
you you already knew that though. Please tell me you already knew that, or I'm gonna feel terrible.
I do. Don't worry.
Okay.
Like I'm still looking forward to like the overall picture. So I try to like summarize, especially because Disney Plus doesn't have the 1.5 speed or the 1.25, so I have to watch it normally, right? Which I have.
If you watch Mandalorian at 1.5 speed, I will come out of the television ring style and slap you, Felipe.
I will hold him down, and then you can just slap him as much as you want. So,
Even if I wanted to, Disney Plus doesn't have that option, so I'm watching normally, like you peasants.
but you should.
Yeah, so one last thing about Andor I wanted to say about the last episode without spoiling it. Did it remember you when you see the scuba diving? The first thing that popped to my mind was Shadow Moses from Metal Gear. I was like, the whole thing was so like high, epic, heist, stealth. Like I've never
Yeah,
seen like true stealth like that in like any Star Wars period. Like it was like
Yeah,
there was so much suspense, and all of the actors in this show are also actually amazing. There's not a single bad actor in the whole show.
no. The last episode actually felt like a spy movie, which was really cool. I was like, this feels like straight up a spy movie right now. That's great.
Well, that's a lot of high praise there.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And a spy movie in Star Wars with incredible like cinematography and the budget is there. Like it doesn't look cheap.
Yeah. And like Industrial Light and Magic decided to like get an extra cup of coffee because they did spot on in the last episode for sure.
The blonde woman that's with them, she
Yeah.
really impressed me in the last episode. Like, even though I didn't know, I had no idea who that was. Every scene with her, I was really like buying it, you know. So anyway,
Right.
yeah, that is a lot of high praise for Andor. Coming from
Uh,
someone who was very much against this show, I think he deserves it.
all
I
right.
didn't I didn't feel like watching it either before it came out. I was like, I might skip this. I'm glad I didn't skip this.
Yeah, yeah, and apparently there's only gonna be 2 seasons. And I think before rewatching Rogue One, I'm gonna wait for after season two, and just like, cause like Rogue One, I don't even remember that much. I was like really against this movie coming in, so like I was like, oh, I just don't care. So anyway, so that was
I mean,
our yeah. Please.
I just want to say that like many shows in hindsight, like I tend to usually be better. Like it's like I don't want to watch this, and then like I watch something or I watch something that's related to that, and like I said, oh, this is better than I thought.
And there's also
But yeah,
the how are you gonna feel about the movie or the show a month after it's over or 2 months after it's over? There is the holding up factor. Like Obi-Wan did not hold up for me whatsoever. Like the more time passes, the less I like Obi-Wan. You know, whereas the more time passes, the more I like, for example, Moon Knight. The more I like WandaVision. You know, like the more I like Mandalorian. So there's
okay,
for
but
yeah.
sorry, go ahead. Finish your
No, no,
thought.
no, no. I was done.
Okay, I just want to ask. So overall, and like as time goes by, do you think Andor will be one of those necessary shows?
100%.
Mandalorian is good because there's a big gap between episode 6 and 7, so it makes sense to just film stuff and see how the world is developing. But Andor, we're going backwards. Is that necessary? The time is like it's so tight that is it necessary to be there, even though we already knew what happened before going to a Rogue One and to get to like a New Hope? Like we already know, right? Like an episode like kind of Strikes Back. So
You just mentioned something that reminded me of one of my favorite YouTube videos ever, which got me into the movie industry YouTube scene on Screen Junkies. I don't know if you guys remember movie fights, where
yes.
also there was a movie fight. The first one I ever watched was Rogue One. Do we need it? And that's before the Rogue One movie comes out, and it was a drunk movie fight, so it was absolutely hilarious. And at the end of the whole movie fight is no, we don't need Rogue One, right? We absolutely don't need it. But if it's well made, then yeah, we do need it. So for example, a lot of people love Rogue One. They're like, oh, it's one of my favorite Star Wars movie. So yeah, we didn't need it, but if some people can say this is one of their favorite movies, then yeah, it was necessary because it's good, right? So like Andor, I can already tell you I'm gonna love it still in a few months because the more time passes, the more I remember sometimes things, and I'm like, oh my god, I just want to rewatch the show. And Diego Luna, which we haven't even talked about him, who's the main actor.
Mm.
Like I don't know, I know him mostly from Narcos Mexico, and he just that guy he's an incredible actor, and like he doesn't even carry it, but he shines really, like
Okay. The key takeaway here is that if it's good, we'll care. Like, please, Disney, give us that Mace Windu backstory.
and make it
Yes.
good that it makes sense and have people who are like experts about it. Like I feel like this Andor is good because Tony Gilroy wrote Rogue One, and this is years later, so I feel like it's his baby. Like he seems like he cares about like this story. But yeah, anyways, so we went on a bit long. So we are the Otaku Informers, and you have been.
Informed.